It's Frosty, Heidi, and Frank on 95.5 KLOS.
This is it. You got to go to the Irvine Improv and see TJ Miller stand up on Valentine's Day. Ladies love to laugh.
That's true.
TJ is the source of laughter for many. And he's here today. Let's get him in here.
See Mr. TJ Miller.
There he is.
Hey. Oh, TJ.
The doorbell's working.
Yes.
I know.
Good morning.
You're quite the treat.
Morning.
Look at this. You know it's the real deal when you walk in and there's just liquor right
Oh, yeah,
there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a morning show after all.
It's a morning show. You got to have that morning eye opener. I like it.
Actually, I might be hitting a wall right now because I got a B12 shot yesterday. It's supposed to help your immune system with all the sickness going around.
You
I
don't
was
want
like,
the coronavirus, yeah?
No.
I'm like,
Yeah, you want to drink Corona, but you don't want the coronavirus.
I'm like, let me get one of them shots. And turns out I'm allergic to it. And so I broke out in hives
Oh,
yesterday
really?
at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I still have them. So on the way to work this morning, I stopped at a CVS and I was like, I need to get something for these hives. They're like, well, you probably should go to the emergency room because I could go to your lungs, close up your throat, and you could die.
You just got over
I'm like,
pneumonia.
but what's over the counter? She's like, here's the Benadryl. Take Benadryl right now. I'm like, Benadryl makes you go to sleep. That's how you put kids to sleep.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that's all you got right now if you're going to work. So I'm like, I took Benadryl, but then I also got a couple energy drinks, these Bang energy drinks.
Well, you're
And then you
up
had
and
2
down.
shots
You're
of-
riding the
swear,
dragon.
I'm like
TJ.
Elvis Presley right now.
You had 2 shots of whiskey, too.
I did. So now it's like Benadryl and Bang.
Is that what
How
they
can
call
I
it?
get some of that sweet, sweet Benadryl? They're hoping you come in here and have a little Benadryl in the morning.
Yeah, Benadryl and Bang, man, that's the ticket right there. But I am like feeling it in my extremities.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Sorry, guys. It just fell against the doorbell door. Yeah, it's the B12 shot. Look, you took it to get healthier, and then, of course, it has the reverse effect. Kate had one of those, and she passed out. It was like too much all at once.
Your wife.
And, yeah, so she just totally passed out. And so I try and stay away from those.
Yeah.
But in Hollywood, there's a big thing. There's actually a place called, I think it's called Sweat Theory on, I think, Cahuenga and Sunset. And they do this thing called a Myers cocktail. So they have all these IVs. And that's a big thing in Hollywood is if you come in and you've had a really late night or you're feeling a little bit sick, but you still got to do that 14-hour day, they give you an IV,
I've
which
done
has
those,
all that
TJ.
stuff. You have?
Of Myers rum.
And how'd it go? Yeah, Myers rum. That's
Get
a
you
little
right back
different.
on top.
Just an IV of dark rum.
I really do feel like Captain Morgan.
I just mainline Irish coffee in the morning. That's what I do. You get to it. You've done one?
I did one. This company came to the house because I was so sick, and I missed one day of work, and I was like, I got to get back to those 2. And they come to the house, and it's weird because, I mean, I was feeling as bad as you can feel. And they do this cocktail, and your whole body gets really warm, crotch,
Is this the
everything.
same stuff they use like on the Hangover bus in Vegas?
Probably like that.
That's what I think it is it started as, I think it started in the 70s when people would just do all of the drugs and all of the drinks, and then they would get up in the morning and have to work, and so they made this Myers cocktail. I forget why it's called a Myers cocktail. Somebody Myers was just like requesting it, but that was, you know, everybody from the Rolling Stones to like Burt Reynolds.
You
was
feel
just doing
amazing.
that
TJ,
stuff.
I will say, I felt from feeling as bad as you can feel to as soon as that was in my veins, like 2 hours later, I was like, "What? Let's go do stuff. I'm ready to party."
Yeah,
that's
let's
not who
get into it,
Yeah, that's
right.
not who I am at all. But I felt so
TJ
good.
Miller with
That's
us.
not who I am at all.
No,
He's going to be
I'm in
performing
bed
a
by 9.
stand-up at the Irvine Improv tomorrow through Sunday.
Very
Now,
excited.
you mentioned your wife, Kate.
All shows sold out except for Sunday, guys. Get the tickets.
Get on
now.
it. Get on it
Oh, yeah.
Sunday.
Valentine's Day is a great date. Go out and see
Yeah,
some
it's so
comedy.
fun.
Like I said, they'll laugh their panties off. That's really the goal, isn't it? On
Are
Valentine's Day.
you gonna laugh them into bed?
Now,
That's what I did.
You're
That's how
working
I
on
got married.
Valentine's Day. Yeah, so what, you guys don't celebrate anymore, you and your wife?
So what I did was I made this a big, because I don't know if you've seen the movie She's Out of My League. But
Yes.
I watched that 2 days ago.
Really? Well, I'll tell you what.
fantastic.
I am living that. If you see a picture of my wife, she's this famous installation artist. We met in college, so we've known each other forever. And you know, as a stand-up comic, I used to work every New Year's Eve, but that's not as big of a night of comedy. It used to pay like 4 times or 5 times what you usually get. people just aren't going to comedy shows on New Year's Eve as much anymore. And I've ruined Kate's New Year's Eves for like 10 years just telling her. I remember she came to Chicago when I was first starting, and I got a gig for New Year's Eve at that fondue restaurant, the Melting Pot.
Oh, the Melting Pot, yeah, where you cook your own food.
And it turns out the people dining there didn't know that there was going to be a comedy show, so we're just like interrupting New Year's Eve dinner. And Kate was just sitting there watching me sadly doing fondue comedy.
And that was the night she fell in love with you.
Yeah, those sweet melting cheese jokes. Because I was trying to make that delicious gooey cheddar. And so, you know, I finally said, okay, no more New Year's Eve gigs. But Valentine's Day is a big day because people do want to go see a show. So what I did was I figured out, don't make it Valentine's Day, make it Valentine's week. And so she came into San Jose. I just played the San Jose Improv last weekend. And I had a car trailered up there. I have a classic car.
What you got?
A lot of people say, oh, what kind of, you got like a Jaguar or a, you know, Mustang or something like that? No, I have a Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 twin turbo.
Those were hot back in the day.
Most 90s of all the cars, and you can't even find it. They're so rare that I do drive it, and people are like, whoa, what is that? It's definitely not a Ferrari, but it's something. Because it's red, and so it's a real head turner.
It's like a Dodge Viper, right? Same.
Yeah.
Stealth,
but
right?
it's not. It is like the Stealth. They changed the body, but it's a very similar car, and very similar engineering. And I had to trailer it up because it's a 1992. So if you think about it, that's like 28 years old. It's really crazy. And it still runs so well. And so we drove from San Jose down, and I told her, we both used to live in Los Angeles. I lived here much longer than her. I lived here for about 8 years, and she lived here for about 3 or 4. Now we live in New York. We live in Greenwich Village, Manhattan,
Nice.
and I love it there. And I never really
drive there.
Los Angeles is so you don't drive there at all. But Los Angeles is so, if you're in Hollywood, there's so much status anxiety. There's so many things about it that just are difficult to slog through. And we kind of we have a small apartment. We rent a place in Hollywood Heights, right behind the Hollywood Bowl, and we love that. It's a pedestrian only. You take an outdoor elevator, and it's a pedestrian only walkway, and you only have a key to the elevator if you live in that. So that's really cool. Very secluded. Although I just said
Kinda
it on
gave
the
it
radio.
away.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you can't get up that elevator anyway. Up to
You don't have
like
a key.
200 steps.
But could you hear shows
And what's that?
at the Hollywood Bowl? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
go outside
absolutely.
and just eat on your balcony.
Yeah.
There's Elton John.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
absolutely. And
cool.
we have a big, really big outdoor terrace balcony thing, and we have a view of all of Hollywood. And I really like Hollywood proper. It's very weird. Although last night we drove the car at the Roosevelt, and we went outside and tried to get on those little wheels bikes. The
bird
ones-
scooters?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like a bike with no pedals. That's always a good way to get exercise. Just an electric bike without the option of pedaling. And you know, in Hollywood, I think it's funny, but Kate's kind of like, there's a woman over there yelling into a phone. It's like, I'm not even there. No, I'm not going to cancel it, okay?
Oh.
I'm on the corner. She's just so drunk. And I kind of like the weird grittiness and the Holly weird of it all, but she's not as into it. I remember she told me, she goes, yeah, it's fun for you because you're a gigantic guy. If it's just me walking around a tiny girl, it's like kind of scary.
It's scary.
And you know, but Santa Monica and some of the other places where some people live, I didn't really love the East Side a lot. So we're very much more New York speed people.
But don't you find, isn't New York gritty too? Like we were just
Yeah, but it's
describing
like it's sort of a different deal, and it's actually, it feels safer than Hollywood, the neighborhood, if you can even believe it.
Yeah, they always show like the camera up when it's like, oh, this is Hollywood. They never show the camera straight view.
Right, exactly.
It's like in the
yeah,
movies.
Street view is a lot different. Jimmy Kimmel Live looks great, but in the alley out back, there's just drunks waiting for tomorrow's NSYNC concert. That was the funniest thing. I used to live right near Jimmy Kimmel Live, and there was like this line of people in tents waiting in line for the next night. It was like the middle of the night. I got back after doing stand-up sets, and I just had to know. So I bought a 12-pack of canned beer, and I walked over there and I gave some, and they were all women. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. They're all sort of middle-aged women, and I gave them the beers, and I said, here, I brought you guys some beers. I live right near here. Why are you guys here? What are you waiting for? And they were waiting for in sync. They were waiting, and they all had tattoos, and there was a community, and they'd all traveled, so I just listened to the story of how these people are so into. No, I'm sorry. Look at how dumb I am.
TJ,
New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block.
So, but they have the acronym
NKOTB.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm a middle-aged woman.
Yeah, but
that's how I know.
These women went all over the world. So one of them said, "Oh, I actually I met her in Germany, and we've sort of been friends, and then we coordinate where to go." So, and they were just waiting each of them had a story when their favorite new kid on the block, singular, not plural, pointed them out or made eye contact with them, and they had made a sign that was so and so's my favorite, and she was like, and one time he made eye contact with me and he just mouthed, "Thank you." And she's like, I'll never forget that moment. It was just my favorite moment, and that was in Dublin, Ireland, in 2012. And it's just they are so hardcore about it. But do
you have that person that you see who's following you around, where it's like she's front row and I love
clubs?
you, TJ, and you're like, hey, Mary.
There's one person, and I'm not going to say her name because she would get embarrassed, but she has seen 12 of my shows, and she'll drive up to 10 hours to come and see one. Mostly she does, she lives in central Ohio. I play a lot of really exotic places. I play Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hey,
and I play smaller towns like Dayton, Ohio. And then I play towns I'll never go back to, like Toledo, Ohio.
No good.
And Cleveland, Ohio. And so she'll come to those, but she'll also sort of travel. And she has a hat with each of the cities that she's been to. And it's tough because I won't see her for a long time, and then I'll see her, and she just expects that because I meet, I do VIP meet and greets afterwards because I love hearing what people think immediately. I made this movie Underwater. Kristen Stewart and I made this movie with Vincent Cassell, Underwater, we made that 3.5 years ago. So sometimes I'll make something.
That's in theaters right now, right?
It just left theaters. It'll be streaming probably in a month and a half. And it's but it just takes so long. I'll make something, and then I won't hear what people think about it for about a year.
That's why comedy's great.
Comedy's great because you immediately get the response. That's why stand-up is my favorite thing to do. Immediately get the response, and then with the meet and greet afterwards, I get to sort of ask, like, hey, what'd you think of the show? And then I also hear people, I liked this movie. I'm a huge fan of Office Christmas Party. We watch that every Christmas. Or a lot of people like She's Out of My League.
That's great.
It's kind of become a beloved film.
You have the perfect career, TJ Miller. I think, because you're the guy that
look where I am right now in Claus.
This is the only ding in your career is
Santa Claus.
Everybody knows you. It's like everywhere you go, because they just know, because you're in so much stuff.
I always thought TJ Miller's where you are where you were meant to be.
Yeah.
As far as was there ever an idea of possibly doing something else as a career choice besides?
No, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology with concentration in persuasion theory and social influence, whatever that means.
Wow.
And so a psychologist, but I realized that if I was a psychologist, I could profoundly affect maybe 500, 1,000 people's lives. But if I did comedy, especially in the film and television space, I could just for a minute or an hour sort of lift people up out of the tragedy that sort of permeates everyday life. And I thought that was a much better use of time. I'm a utilitarian in terms of ethics, which means make the most amount of people the most happy. Which is it's an interesting approach to ethics. Like, for instance, Kate we got a screener for Booksmart, and we were going to watch that together. And then one night I couldn't sleep, so I watched it. And that's always a real faux pas in any relationship, not just a marriage, although it's a little bit worse.
We were supposed to watch that together.
Exactly.
Why did you watch it without me, TJ?
As you said that, I immediately had flashbacks. Yeah. That was real deal PSD.
Oh, yeah.
PTSD.
I'll take you there.
Post syndrome dramatic. So we then she said, you want to watch that together? And it's like, you got some options there, okay? You can lie and say, I haven't seen it. I can't wait to see it for the first time with you in a completely fresh and original, unique experience together that we can share and would never do separately. And then, or, you know, you can be honest, straightforward, and say, hey, I watched the whole thing. And, but a utilitarian sort of, you want to make the most amount of happiness for the most people. That's the principle. And so what I did was, you don't lie because then you're going to feel bad. So that doesn't make you happy. You don't tell the truth because then she's going to feel bad and then you're going to feel bad. So that's kind of the worst option, is telling the truth. And so what you do is you say kind of the truth, which is, I watched it, but it was late, so I fell asleep during a lot of it. And so I didn't really see the whole thing. So I'm excited to watch it with you. She knows that's probably not true. I know that it's a partial truth. But in the utilitarian ethics, it's like, that's the right thing to do.
Now, T.J. Miller figured it out. I mean, obviously, that college degree's coming in handy. Here's where it's really, because that was a screener, right?
Yes.
Here's what sucks when you lie, and then on Netflix, when you watch it, goes, watch again, and you're like,
Yeah, that was best shit.
Netflix
will bust you.
Yes, you're like, watch again.
I have a whole thing in my act about how Netflix is like this pushy drug dealer. And then it's just, you stop on something for too long and it's like, how about this? You want to watch this? You want to try this? And then and then there's a it just makes a lot of racket. I'm making eye contact with Megan. Oh, my best friend is here, right
Like
over there.
the used car salesman.
Self-described
Don't
chapstick
like that? We got
lesbian.
this.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a drug dealer because you finish, binge watching. First of all, binge watching has created this feeling that we never had before, which is when you finish binge watching something, you have the sense of accomplishment, but you also know that you kind of wasted your life. You know? And so you finish, 10 hours, 12 hours of Better Call Saul, and you're like, I could have learned another language. It's a drug dealer because you're finally done. You finish the whole season of Ozark. You finish the series, and Netflix is like, oh, you're done watching that? We're about to watch this in 5, 4, 3, 2, and you're like, I don't want to watch any, and then 1, you're like, ugh. And then you get to work on 3 hours of sleep the next day, like, has anyone seen Westworld? Somebody connect with me! So I really thank people for like ripping their attention away from these screens that I think are kind of ruining our lives and coming to see a live show. I mean, social media is so unhealthy that I think in a couple, a few years, we're going to look back at it like we look at cigarettes now. Like, if you see someone on social media indoors, you're going to be like, take that outside. Keep it 15 feet away from the entrance. There are babies around. Secondhand Snapchatting kills. And so I really do say to people, put away the phone. Stop thinking about everything that brings you down. Even Instagram, the least evil of them, is still just everybody scrolling, looking at pictures, going, that looks like a lunch I wish I had instead of what I had. That looks like a relationship I would treasure. That looks like a vacation I'll never take. Just scrolling, getting unhappy and arthritis at the same time. So I sort of encourage people to kind of step away from the phone, step away from all that stuff. And the show is really a show. It's like it's very vaudevillian. There's juggling. I make an audience member play the slide trombone as the ba-dum-bum instead they play the slide trombone, and I do one-liners. I was thinking about one in the bathroom. That when you wash your hands, you're supposed to sing happy birthday. Do you guys know that? Because that's the amount of time that it takes to hygienically clean your hands. And that's fine. I do it every single time. But whenever I'm the only person in a public restroom and somebody else walks in, it just looks like I'm having the saddest birthday ever. And so I kind of rattle those off. One funny one that I've been doing lately is, it's like a run of bathroom jokes. It's like, this one has to do with existential crisis. Do you ever wave your hand underneath an automatic paper towel dispenser and nothing comes out? So you just look in the mirror and you're like, are you even here? And then I had a sound guy at a club a little while ago said to me, it's actually in West Nyack, New York, and he said, hey, you know that joke you do about washing your armpits? You said that I would think about that, and I do. And what it is when you wash your armpits, you're supposed to scrub 14 times on either side, and that's good information. It's true, and you'll notice a difference. But now, whenever you wash your armpits, you will think of me. And I know this because I think about the guy that told me, and I don't want to.
Oh, no.
And it's true that people, because you don't think about anything when you wash your armpits. Now I've given you something to think about. So you're just in the shower naked, unless you wear one of those 1920s bathing costumes. And you're just thinking about me. And it's a strange sort of deal. I actually made the joke so I would stop thinking about Zach Woods from Silicon Valley. He plays Jared because he was the one that told me.
He's the one that told you that.
Another great
so
show.
I think about Zach Woods in the shower. I don't want to do that.
Now we'll think about you thinking about him.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I should have left that out.
TJ Miller's going to be performing his stand-up at the Irvine Improv tomorrow through Sunday. It's a Sunday show is the only one that still has tickets, right?
Sunday show's the only one that still has tickets. And if you live in Los Angeles proper, I am headlining the Hollywood Improv on Melrose on Tuesday, February 18th. Still some tickets left for that, but right there in the historic Hollywood Improv. So that's a lot of fun.
You can walk there from your house.
That room is great. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's passed by women yelling at Uber drivers and
waiting for
new kids
NKOTB.
on the block. Yeah, NKOTB.
I got another question about Underwater that was recently in theaters, going to be streaming very soon. You star opposite Kristen Stewart. Now, is she as zany in person as she appears on screen?
She's a real Zane ball. She's absolutely kooky. She's a nut. She's a real cut up. Quite the card, that case too. Megan O's laughing at the other side of the studio because she came in. Megan O came in for Kristen's birthday, and we blew it out. We took her to. We were in New Orleans, so we took her to a club, and she got on the pole and was spinning because she had done something where she did pole dancing in a film, and so she was she had
learned it.
She's she's really wild, but also kind of gangster. Like her girlfriend for a long time was Victoria's Secret angel, but she's just the nicest. We kind of had a little brother or little sister, big brother, little brother. That was when she had her short hair. But she was always telling me that is so heteronormative. And I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, it will take too long to explain. I'll tell you some night when we're drinking tequila. And I was like, or let's just talk about anything else.
Right.
I don't really need a lecture on whatever that is about, whatever weird.
Yeah, always go to the armpit story, then it gets people out of any conversation
exactly
you don't want to have.
And you got him thinking about that instead of heteronormativity. But no, she's actually just a lot of fun, and she's really smart. I mean, that's one of the things that I like about movie stars, because I'm friends with movie stars, but actors I don't really connect. I connect with comedians and movie stars, but actors, because I'm not a very good actor, and actors take themselves very seriously, whereas movie stars are more sort of business people. It's about charisma also. So Mark Wahlberg and I are friends, and he's really, really smart,
Wicked
he kind of knows what he is. He's wicked smart. And but he produces stuff, and Kristen Stewart is really smart about what projects she chooses, and even if they kind of misfire, I don't think Charlie's Angels did as well as they wanted it to. Underwater didn't too well. Bad Boys for Life didn't make it easy for us.
Oh yeah, it's a tough weekend.
That movie is just who could have known that people were 15 years later, give me some more of that sweet
Martin
Lawrence. Delicious.
Yeah. People missed Martin.
He's always concerned. Yeah, that's exactly right.
He's missed it.
Well,
their
dynamic
they had this
is
in the
so
can
funny.
for 3 years too. It's you could have picked any other weekend, and you decided to give Bad Boys for
but
Life.
it was it's Disney acquired Fox. It was a Fox property, so that all of that is a mess. That is just.
I know when Disney
bizarre.
owns Deadpool, and there was a concern about the rating.
That was one of the acquisitions within Fox. And Disney owns Marvel, so now they
can't
just
do a
kind
clean
of own
Deadpool.
everything. No, they're not going to. I don't think they'll mess around with it. But they kind of didn't know what to do. I mean, Underwater is a thriller. It's almost a horror film, and that's just not their brand. So they don't really know how to market that stuff so they're sort of floundering with, do we do YouTube videos? Are we trying to get Vanity Fair to talk about this? Does anybody even read that? Should we be on
Can
Facebook?
we put a princess in Underwater somehow?
Yeah, somehow.
We know how to promote that
Can we
stuff.
they should have had a Little Mermaid swimming around down there.
There you go.
That would have been the way to do it.
Billboards all over Los Angeles.
TJ, it's great having you on the show. Anytime you're back in Los Angeles, stop by. The doors.
Yeah,
always
that would be
open for you
fantastic.
guys.
I mean, we rent an apartment here, so we're here every 5 or 6 months, and it is really fun to be back in California. I played the San Jose Improv, and then because I'm working Valentine's Day Friday, I'll be at the Irvine Improv.
Does Kate go down with you, and then after the show you'll do a little hotel action?
Well, I think she might come down on Friday. Hotel action? You mean sexual intercourse? Yes. That's
for
not
me,
gonna
I
happen.
mean room service
Yeah.
and watch a movie.
Room service and Netflix.
Yeah,
and,
that's
I want Benadryl and bang
there it
on
is.
Valentine's Day.
That's actually that's a phrase that she and I use. It's like let's Benadryl and bang. Let's get that done.
See who falls asleep first.
Can
Go.
I get
Yeah,
Cosby pickup lines for 200, Alex?
You'll see.
Extra Benadryl. Emphasis on the Benadryl, really, honestly.
Emphasis.
So I have a classic car, a 3000 GT VR4 twin turbo.
Mitsubishi, yeah.
And we drove that from San Jose down the 1 along the Pacific Coast Highway.
Beautiful.
And stopped in Big Sur, which we have ties to. We renewed our vows there and got married kind of just for us instead of the wedding, which is always about the family and not the couple, and then made our way down to Santa Barbara. So I made it kind of a Valentine's week because that Valentine's night, it's 2 shows and I do a VIP meet and greet. So it's kind of, by the time it's all over, it's like midnight or 1 in the morning. And but what I did was we got into Santa Barbara super late, and I was so excited about coming and seeing you guys this morning and trying to spread the word about February 18th, the Hollywood Improv, and that Sunday show in Irvine. And so we kind of weren't able to spend the night in Santa Barbara because it would have been like an early drive with traffic. So what I did was I sweet-talked Andrea Angel, is her actual name, and she was an angel, into moving that night to 2 weeks from now, and so we're making it sort of a Valentine's month.
Wow, TJ Miller.
So we're going to take her back up to Santa Barbara. So I'm really trying. Again, if you met Kate,
cans?
you'd be like, yeah, you should be working for this.
Did you tie cans behind the Mitsubishi 3000 when you renewed your vows and did the old polish on the windows?
Just remarried.
I got to tell you, when I bought it, it came with cans. So the cans have been on there from the get-go.
That's how they sweetened the deal.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh,
Once
TJ.
again,
And they were
TJ.
full cans of food, so we've been able to have Campbell's soup.
Gotta have you back.
It gets heated up from the exhaust. I'd love to come back. Thank you guys so much
Anytime,
for having
man.
me.
Irvine Improv. Tickets available Sunday, irvine.improv.com.